Eric Stahl on a bike they call the Mullet from Alloy Art number 99.
You know, they've got bikes that are up nearly 130 miles an hour down the straightaway, and it's a bagger. That's pretty impressive.
Eric Stahl on the Mullet in 6th. Stahl and Soma were some of the first guys to ever come out here on Dynas back in the day. I think the street bike crowd wanted to beat them up, and here they are.
All right, guys, we want to welcome everybody out to Laidlaw's Harley-Davidson podcast, episode number 10. I'm Matt Laidlaw here with my co-host Keith Hurt.
And we have a pretty cool episode here today. We're privileged enough to have Robbie and Justin McGinnis of Alloy Art here. And we're going to talk a little bit about their business and kind of the influence they've had in the aftermarket world and in the Harley and in other industries as well. And one of the main reasons, too, we got them on the show today is because they were one of the invited racers on the King, is it King of the Baggers?
Yeah. King of the Baggers, man.
King of the Baggers.
Yeah, so
Big deal right now.
Ton of press, ton of publicity, a lot of guys covering it. The views like on social media and things like that were like off the charts compared to the rest of like the Moto America stuff.
Incredible.
I think Justin was telling me the other day, like I think it was a couple days ago, right? It was between the YouTube and the actual live broadcast, it was like 2 million plus or something.
2.2, but we just got some new numbers today, I think.
Over 7 million.
7 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And still
that's not even the race. That's the follow-up recap.
Just the recap. And I think the Superbikes were still at like 10,000 or something like that.
That's crazy.
So it's really, and I believe it's coming to Fox Sports this weekend. They're going to re-air it, the race.
Nice.
Right on.
Which
Fox
is
Sports 2.
Fox Sports 2, excuse me, yeah.
Sweet.
Tomorrow. So that's pretty cool. It's going to get some more love.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Hey, and thanks for having us, dude.
Yeah.
We appreciate it, man. It's cool.
Thanks for being here. So these guys from Alloy Art are pretty much right up the street from us.
Yeah,
they're in Glendora.
Right around the corner from my house.
Not too far.
Yeah.
So yeah, they help us out a lot with custom stuff. Some of the parts you saw like on the Coast Glide was their stuff, turn signals, things like that.
Yep.
So it's kind of been a good like working relationship over the years. So let's start off, guys. Tell us a little bit about and tell everybody a little bit about Alloy Art, what you guys do, and kind of your core business and everything.
So we started out, and I was working. I was doing stuff for Tony Carlini back in the day. Had a bunch of designs I was throwing at him. Had a machine shop I needed work. He liked a lot of the designs and ran with them, and then the designs he didn't like, I decided to do my own thing with. Got a patent on a handlebar bushing design because I snapped my bolts and my bars flexed everywhere. And
Anyone's been around any time, good and tight bushings, that's Alloy Art's invention.
yeah, so the good and tights were huge for us, man, and
Still are.
oh, still huge
Still
for
are,
us.
yeah.
That's the bread and butter right there, and very proud of them. And $40 item that makes a hell of a lot of difference on these bikes.
Yeah.
And, now we have shops that pretty much say anytime someone comes in for handlebars, 100% automatic, good and tight bushings. Period.
Yeah, hands down. That's it. So
Cool. So that kind of puts you on the map a little bit. And I know you guys do a lot of like CNC machine stuff, right? That's kind of one of your fortes.
Yeah, we so we're a CNC shop. We also do plastic injection molding. I come from a snowboard industry background. I was back in the early days of the snowboarding world, whether it was making bindings, straps, base plates, the cartridge molds for the vacuum bags, all that different stuff for back in the snowboard industry. So I parlayed that knowledge of plastic injection, what I learned from there, over to the Harley stuff. The good and tights are plastic injection with some CNC components. And so is a lot of the rest of our line, like our turn signals, like our strut lights, which you guys have used those. Our strut lights, that mold for that lens was made 20 years ago.
Wow.
And one of the reasons why it was hard to take off was because it doesn't catalog well. You see a picture of it in a catalog, nobody knows what the hell it does.
Yeah.
Half the time you don't even know it's on the bike unless somebody hits their brakes or their turn signals.
That's right, yeah.
But that's the way we designed it. We were obsessed with everything being streamlined, smooth, concentric to the bike. Yeah.
This year, and tell us a little bit about, I know you guys picked up your bike from us for the Born Free show, and it was a Road Kings special, right?
Yep.
And so you originally were going to build a bike for the Born Free show, but I think you guys kind of had in the back of your head as well, you were going to do this battle for the bag, or King of the Baggers too, right?
Yeah.
It was all happening at the same time. Like the King of the Baggers, the whole thing is the brainchild of Rob Bidos. And he wasn't getting very much traction or love with it. And him and I were talking late night in a bar. I don't even know where we were, but he said, nobody's like, what do you think? Could this be something? I go, I think it could be huge. Straight out. I think that could be huge. It would do tremendous things for the industry and tremendous things for these bikes. He goes, are you in? I go, I'm 100% in.
Yeah.
So that was the very beginning of the whole deal.
Very cool. So Born Free got canceled, unfortunately. It's going to be next year, which you guys said before the podcast, your bike will be at the Born Free show next year, right?
That's correct. Yeah. It's still part of that process.
Okay.
So what they're going to do is they're just rolling in. So all the bikes and builders that were chosen for the 2020 show, they're just rolling them into 2021. Mm-hmm. So all the bikes, whether it was the invited builders or the Harley guys, like what we were, all of that has just been pushed to 2021.
Okay.
So the show will be bigger and better than ever.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge. I think
Yeah.
people are like itching to get out there.
Oh,
Heck
100%.
yeah. So your bike kind of filled two roles, where it was going to be your Born Free bike, and you also built it for this King of the Baggers race as well. So, tell us a little bit about your bike and what you did exactly to get your bike to where it is right now.
Well, I mean, originally, that's the problem. I mean, we had to keep in mind, that this bike that we were building the priority was Born Free, right? But then we had this great opportunity to join something like King of the Baggers and be a part of that. So it was trying to create a bike that's going to be, on a race level and do these things. And it was hard. We didn't even have a rider at the time, for a while. So just on the creative side, we knew what we wanted to do. We wanted to do performance. We wanted to, we had all these cool ideas we were doing, and but it'd be really hard to execute them without a rider originally, because what you didn't want to do was build something and then get a guy that's going to ride it, and it's completely different from what he needs.
Yeah.
So, so we ended up getting a rider, and we just really just kind of fast lined and built kind of a bike around his setup and what he needed, and went that direction. And like I said, we had to just keep in mind, in the back of our mind, that okay, this bike is still for Born Free, so we gotta keep in there, and it's got to make it back to Born Free.
Yeah.
We definitely lagged on the build, for sure, and we didn't do ourselves any favors. But at the same time, the COVID thing, the cancellations, and is this going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Or is the race going to happen? Is it not going to happen?
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns,
Uncertainty.
but also you guys innovated a lot more than a lot of the other
we
teams did. You guys changed everything, cosmetically and mechanically on the bike. I mean, that's a big undertaking, especially making all that stuff fit together. That's a big deal. Yeah.
And there was a lot of obstacles too.
And 100%. That's absolutely right. This, like Justin was saying, this is our Born Free bike.
Yeah.
We're not just going to the track and painting the bike black and going out there and racing,
Sure.
or whatever it is. We wanted to come with it. We wanted to put our creativity and our ingenuity to the test, not only for the race, but to be respectable at a show the quality of Born Free.
Yeah.
At least effort wise, there's some more funny stories to come about, how the bike evolved.
Yeah.
And like I said, we didn't do ourselves any favors, but all in all, we did have our ideas lined up.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of stuff drawn up. We had, we got on the motor right away. The motor was done.
Yeah.
We got on everything we could right away that wasn't rider specific, but we really wanted to tailor the bike fitment wise around the rider.
Yeah, comfort's a big thing when you're racing. You got to make sure your ergonomics are right. If you're running even a 10-lap race or 8-lap race, or if you're uncomfortable, you're not going to be able to do what you want to do and move around the way you want to move. Yeah, that's important.
100%.
Yeah,
And I really like the last. It's kind of funny, but the last 4 weeks is really when the bike really just jumped. I think week 4 we decided, let's pull the motor out. We're gonna powder coat the frame.
Yeah.
Pull it out, powder coated it, and then we got it back. Fucking put it together. And then we got our rider. We said, okay, now we finally got a rider.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Boom. And then it was just all hands on deck.
I remember because I was coming in and out, bringing them things that they needed or whatever.
Yeah.
Justin
He
would
was our
call me or
delivery
text
guy.
me and be like, "Hey, dude, you guys one of these, or can you get me one?" And then I'm like, about, I don't know, a month ago. I'm like, wow, man, you guys can have this thing done.
Well,
And he's like, Robbie's like, oh, the frame's coming back from powder coat today. And I'm like, okay, cool, dude.
Down to the wire.
Oh man, we flew in Danny from Leading Edge, you know, whose pistons and cylinders we used, which is a freaking fantastic product. But he came out and he helped us wire the bike because he's just like this guru with the stock wiring and knowing how to eliminate certain things that we needed, because we were obviously taking off ABS. We took off all this stuff we didn't need. Okay, but the brain's still going to be looking for that stuff.
Yeah.
So now we need to eliminate that stuff. And so we flew him out, and he did. In one day, he freaking came out and went ahead and did the wiring. We had everything labeled, you know. And then he flew home, and it was just things like that really.
this is only our second M8, and,
Yeah.
and Danny's a whiz, man, and he's right up to date on the latest greatest with all these M8s. He's done so many of them.
Yeah.
So, you know, and we've been talking with him for years, and there was no, you know, we're like, Danny, we need you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm on a plane tomorrow.
Yeah, he's a man. I mean, we haven't met with him. I haven't really talked to him, but we know people that know him, and you know, we wanted to talk. We were talking about getting together with him on something too. But
Solid.
guy. One of the greatest guys you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Cool. Yeah. Jeff Holt does a lot of stuff
Yeah.
with him, and Jeff,
Yeah,
when we
they're-
had him on the podcast,
they're
he was
in
talking
business
about him
together.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're cooking up some really cool stuff.
Yeah, they
out
are.
at
Those
the,
two guys
the
together.
collective out in Phoenix.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to watch them do their thing right now.
that's cool.
I know weight reduction was a high priority for you guys.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I mean, that bike started at 792 pounds.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we actually found a scales there at the races, and we were able to, they let us pull it on, and we hit 618
That's
Nice.
legit.
on the bike.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we were hoping to be in at least the high fives, so
Yeah.
we almost got
Yeah.
it. You know?
Kudos,
But,
that's pretty
yeah, it was, that's a lot of weight. I mean, regardless.
That's a lot.
Well, and towards the last second, you know, some extremely last second, I'm talking about Thursday night before throwing it in the damn truck.
Yeah.
You know, we had to scrap some plans, and instead of like designing something lightweight and bitching
Yeah.
and totally puss, we frickin' just grinded some steel and
Make it work.
welded
Yeah.
some shit, you know. So we had, we
added some weight that we would have liked to have not added.
that
we had
normally-
no choice.
normally wouldn't, you know,
We
be
would have
on
fabbed
there.
up something kind of cool and lightweight, but we just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
So we had to make it work. And I mean, we ran into things like our gas tank that we had this somebody make us and do this whole thing. It had external fuel pump and all that stuff.
Look bitching.
Look bitching, but come to find out, we couldn't run that there. If that bike went
yeah.
down and it caught fire, it would be a big mess.
Big
And
deal.
so we had to scrap a whole tank we had made. We had a custom exhaust made. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out. With power-wise, we lost about 30 horsepower with that exhaust on there somehow, whatever it was. And so we had to pull it off the shelf Bassani Road Rage 3 and put it on the freaking bike. And it worked out. And then we were lucky enough to get a carbon fiber fuel tank from Saddlemen.
Okay.
That they ran on their bike, and a couple other guys. And we got one of those from them, and we ended up getting that on the bike, and I mean that helped us out a lot too.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool to see that stuff happen. And
It was cool to kind of like see, like you could tell it came through on the broadcast that I was watching, or even some of like the lead up. It looked like everybody was helping each other, like people running around, helping each other in the pits. There was teams, but everyone seemed like when someone needed help, they were like over there trying to help them. It's like old school drag racing or something. Like everyone's in
It
to
was.
do it.
I
Yeah.
mean, there was a couple crusty guys,
Yeah.
but, you know, and a couple of the top guys were probably, you know, they've done this a million times.
Yeah.
So they're like, nah. But for the most part, like all the drag companies were super helpful to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to watch everybody rally, because big or small team didn't matter. Everybody had some things to deal with.
Yeah.
Everybody, you know,
everybody had some adversity. They had
you know,
to overcome.
this was an unprecedented situation.
All
man.
new,
Yeah.
brand new. Yeah.
We've all built performance bag, or a lot of people have built performance baggers, or attempted to, or performance inspired baggers.
Right.
But you know, when the rubber hits the asphalt at a professional level, at a premier, one of the fastest, most technical tracks in
yeah.
the world, and you're trying to take a 790-pound engineered bike. Okay, so yes, the bike started at 791 pounds. It's engineered for that weight. It's it's engineered for
completely different
two
style of
riders, two
Yeah.
up riding, and here we are throwing it into corners at 120 mile an hour plus.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
freaking nuts, dude.
Okay, so
Wild.
so it's completely unprecedented, and this was the first step forward, and it was a massive first step.
It was huge.
And these bikes were beating the 600 Super Sport speeds.
Yeah.
You know,
really?
Our top speeds of 138 that they were going were in the top 10 of the Superbike class. So these weren't just, you know, there was a lot of comments being made, I think, online about how the baggers are slow.
We're only 10 seconds off the top guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there's...
It was still the top 10. Right.
Still, like for a bike that started out as almost 800 pounds to be able to lighten up that much and make that much performance and be ridden that way, like that's
I think it made a lot
huge.
of people really look differently about the baggers and the perception of and the stuff that they were saying. You know, oh, they're slow. There's no, you know, and then they see them and they're like, holy crap, these things are freaking flying down the straightaway 130 miles an hour. You know, just going.
And just to give some perspective, 600, you said 618 pounds is what your bike weighed. I mean, that's just a little bit more than a Sportster. I mean, a stock Sportster is about 590 or something like that. And so you're just a little bit more than a Sportster on a full touring chassis bike. Like, that's impressive.
That's wild.
And we have room to improve on that.
Yeah, to shave some more down so we can get some more off of there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
very
wild.
Cool.
That's crazy. Yeah, it was funny. I was like watching the lead up, and the funniest comment I heard was like Ben Bostrom. They were interviewing him, and he said, "Yeah, man, we're gonna have a bike show, and I think a race might break out." That's hilarious.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, let's talk about the viewership a little bit. I know we kind of touched on it already, but like I'm not a huge Moto America guy. I don't watch a lot of their stuff, but you know, this obviously piqued my interest for obvious reasons. Yeah. And the viewership, just social media and TV that I'm hearing, like eclipsed some of the regular bikes that they typically show.
Yeah. Blew them away.
Yeah.
Destroyed.
Yeah.
Not even a 0.5%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They compare.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking at like their Facebook views, and like the King of the Baggers is putting up almost 100,000 views on some of their videos, and their regular, you know, super bikes are putting up like 5,000-6,000, and it's new, and so I'll give it some of that. But I just think you have a huge viewer base that you've tapped into now that was, you know, before never tapped into.
No, I mean,
quite honestly, it was always there, and here's why. The people at Moto America approached me. Some of the salespeople, some of the executives, right? And they said, they go, hey, we know for a fact we have this data. At all of our races last year and the previous years, approximately 60% of the on-track fans, the fans that actually ride and attend the race, 60% of the people who pull up and ride to the race are all on Harley-Davidson dressers.
Yeah.
That should tell you something.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
So, and that was before King of the Baggers. What do you think it's going to be now?
So they got a built-in market.
And those people are buying $10 beers.
Yeah.
You know, those people are buying shirts or whatever. Moto America, they're buying burgers, and you know, that's what do you think they're going to want to show up and see?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it speaks volume that they decided to add 3 races to
next year, right?
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. They're talking about it. They haven't made an official announcement yet.
But that's
nothing's guaranteed as of now, but meetings and a lot of talk is going down right now.
But I think if it's out there and people hear that, people are going to think the people's voices will expand, and people are going to want it. People are going to want to see it.
I mean, just based on the popularity now of like hearing how many views they have and stuff on the videos, like I don't know why they wouldn't do something bigger.
You'd be stupid not to.
Because they got a built-in audience, like Robbie was just saying. Like they have a built-in audience. They already know that. They already kind of knew it going in, but they needed to figure out how to tap into it, and they did in a huge way.
Supply and demand. And if you got a product people want, you better give it to them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And actually, you know, you got the amateur levels coming out. You know what I mean? You're going to have this whole expansion, you know, because our guys kind of come from the grassroots. Our racer and Speed Merchants racer Tony, they both come from the grassroots, and they're out there hustling every weekend and racing their Dynas and their FXR, you know, their XR 1200,
right?
You know, doing their thing, and so that's where you got our guys from. So you're going to see more of those guys getting out there and building that sport up even more. And next, you know, those grassroots are going to flow into, you know, what could possibly be a pro level at some point. You know, it could very easily get there. You know, and it could be something really cool.
Eric Stahl owns Jiffy Tune out in Lake Elsinore. He was our rider, and him and Tony Salima, which is Tony Shred on Instagram and Jiffy Tune on Instagram, them and a couple of their buddies like Lucas and some other guys out there, they are the true pioneers of this big Harley heavy cruiser road racing thing.
They've been out there for a while on Dynas and stuff, just getting after it.
They deserve to be in that race more than anybody else, hands down.
Agreed.
And this is your rider that you had?
Yeah. Eric Stahl.
Eric Stahl.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
So, as far as like the rules going into this, like we've kind of been talking behind the scenes, like, wow, this seems kind of like the Wild West. Like, there's not a whole lot of like rules and stuff. So,
So-
tell me a little bit about like the parameters to
So
build
the
your.
first year, they sent some rules around a couple times and then changed them when everybody bitched. And there was supposed to be rules, but I'll be perfectly honest. This first year, since it was kind of more of an exhibition race,
Yeah.
which turned out to be a very serious race.
Yeah.
If you watched it, it was completely a badass race.
Yeah. Well, it was
Absolutely.
it was
It was-
awesome.
Yeah, so this year the rules, yes, there was rules, but they didn't really enforce them
Right.
too much. Moving forward, if the 3-race series or whatever number of races happens and they open it up to everybody instead of invitational, then the rules are going to be like, we know that our bike wouldn't probably be allowed next year with the rules.
Yeah.
So, and there's, I'm sure, a number
Unless
of
the
other
class
bikes.
is opened like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might have an open
So
class
we don't
or
know
whatever,
what the
yeah.
rules are going to be yet, the concrete rules. But yes, there will be rules and they will be enforced moving forward. This year was an exhibition and they were kind of just like, let's put it out there and see what happens. And you know, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So were there guys like lighter bikes than you that put up more horsepower than you guys? Talk a little bit about like what kind of horsepower numbers you guys put up and like how you compared with the pack.
Honestly, since we lagged, like I told you about before, I mentioned before, we didn't get a lot of track time on our bike, and that's
Our biggest track time came from being there, and really that
Still
when
missed
we missed the first 2 practices. We were worried we weren't going to make the third and most important, which was the qualifying one. But we made that one. So most of those other guys were already practicing, and they'd already seen track time up there at Laguna Seca already, some of the big guys, and we hadn't been there at all.
Yeah.
And so we missed the first 2 practices. We made the third qualifying one, and we made the one in the morning the day of the race, and then we made the race. So that's really the time that we had on the bike, and that was it. And, you know, we had the dynoing, so we got some numbers up on that. But we were a little underpowered.
we were underpowered. We were fighting some exhaust issues and
Off
possibly
the shelf exhaust. for one.
possibly some gearing issues. You know, we had some great plans with our exhaust and tried our best to make this custom cool deal, and it just didn't work out.
Then again, still kind of keeping in mind that we have a born free bike. So
Right.
we were doing some of our custom stuff. Some of that
style.
stuff was wrapped around the born free deal, and that was going to carry into that. So we were going to get traction with both things.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we had to ditch some of that stuff because it just didn't work for the race. And now we built pretty much a race bike that fit and finish wise, we would have liked to have seen something a little bit more. Like I said, we lagged a little bit, but it was still a pretty rad bike when you get there and people like look at it and they go, geez, these guys went all out. Like they really like.
I know the Indian bikes were really light.
Yeah, that Indian, and they had a really like sport bike stance to those Indian
Those
bikes,
things
man.
were
And
impressive.
you know,
Yeah. The
water
but
cooled, no push rod, just
that has
freaking
its limitations too, though. Too.
RPMs flying up the you know, just like their RPM. They
This is
got
the way
RPMs
I
to the
looked
moon.
at it.
Yeah,
This is the way I looked at it. It was like the Indians were sport bikes with bags clipped to them, and the Harleys were cruisers with trying to be sport bikes.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
You'd see those Indians in a pit, and they'd have the whole rear tail section off.
Oh wow.
Like the seat, the bags, everything was like one piece. Bloop.
Oh,
This
wow.
whole thing was off, and it was like,
yeah.
the riders were impressed. Like
Yeah.
the Indians,
dude.
got to
The
give it
riders
to
were-
them.
They showed up to win.
They showed up. They did their thing. Well, I don't know if this is verified or true, but rumor has it that they had like their riders at Laguna Seca for a long period of time testing
Probably.
and riding
Yeah.
and dialing in, and not to mention they're pro riders. Like
Yeah.
they're
Well,
they're gonna
SNS
they're gonna dial anything in. you know?
SNS rider was there riding for BMW.
Yeah.
The same weekend, so
That's
he was
right.
hopping from one bike to the other, right?
Yeah.
And then you got, dude, my award for probably the toughest guy out there goes to Roland's rider, who freaking, I know people probably saw the video of it, but watching it live, I was looking down the thing, watching those two bikes take off. I saw, you know, the SNS one take off, and then I saw Roland's guy. He kind of waiting. He dumped that clutch, man. That bike, I mean, like 1.2 seconds, that bike was up and over and flatlined him.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, the guy's
He looked like
dead.
a cockroach.
The guy's
Yeah.
dead, you know, and
Garcia,
he got
yeah,
up.
Garcia.
Yeah,
I
didn't
Garcia,
see
he
that.
got up,
Yeah.
and
Stud.
the bike was just hammered, and that guy's a freaking stud, man. I guess he got a shot in his leg because his leg was hurt
cortisone,
on
they said, yeah.
and it looked like he had like some chest brace on or something underneath the thing, you know, for whatever bruising. But man, and he still went out there and freaking killed it. And tribute to Roland and them for getting that bike back together because it looked like their weekend was done.
Yeah.
You know, that thing was hanging sideways, and I think they got a pair of handlebars that
they were walking around. They were looking for handlebars
on Offer Up. They found some on Offer Up down in L.A. And somebody's girlfriend picked them up and flew up to
racing, man.
to the races up there with the handlebars, and they were able to get everything done and get it right back together for that guy to freaking race.
That's
I'm telling
racing.
you, the behind the scenes stories are just as good as the race.
I mean,
that's what makes a lot of that stuff, all the experience and stuff. But like what Matt was saying earlier, I was gonna say the power to weight ratio has its limitations too, because like one of the lightest, most powerful bikes out there was a Trask bike, and they were having clutch problems.
They actually blew a transmission too. They blew a whole transmission. Had to put another one.
Was that bike the lightest?
They said that theirs was a 5. I don't remember the exact number. It was 5.
I heard that too.
540 something or 550 something pounds, and 200 plus horsepower with the turbocharger. So
I have trouble wrapping my head around that because our bike looked super
skinny.
light. And we were only at 618.
So I
So
know they
I
put
don't know about that.
a couple of days before ahead of the time. They put an Instagram video out, and I was like, 5 what? Are you kidding me right now?
I love
that's
Nick,
insane.
but I don't
No,
know about that one, dude.
Yeah.
Because that, I mean, it had the turbo.
Can we check
on
those
there.
scales and see if they're calibrated?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Well, he's from New Zealand, so maybe it's
Saddleman
kilograms.
bike, my favorite bike out there was the Saddleman bike. That thing was
God.
so insane looking.
Clean.
Just, like
Dave,
you could
they
stand,
built
you
a
could
rad
stand there
bike.
and look at it, dude. You could just stand there.
Yeah.
And then very well thought out.
It was very impressive. It's an impressive machine.
That's
just
cool.
the way they did it. Everything. Yeah, it was a beautiful bike.
I think part of the newness of the sport is really cool because you see all these stories that are cool where you got, guys that don't have the huge corporate money, guys like you putting it together, making it work.
Man.
And, once it gets really big and all the big money comes in there, you don't have these little stories about someone's girlfriend buying bars on Offer Up. So the fact that we're at the beginning of this whole movement, if you want to call it that, I think is very cool and kind of special too. Let's talk for the listeners. Let's talk a little bit about the results. So I think we all kind of know Indian got first. There's a pretty good battle between Vance and Hines and Indian at the end.
Yeah.
And like you said, Justin, Indian was kind of, they have a liquid cooled engine. I can't tell you guys the amount of
Rev limiter to the freaking moon because
So
they
yeah,
could just keep going.
Matt came out earlier as
It's
early.
not a push rod bike.
Yeah, Matt came out
it's a
really.
completely different animal, and
Yeah.
that goes back to the rules. It's like in the future, you got to have a little bit more of a level
They'll probably
playing
see a
field.
class with those guys by themselves, maybe them and BMW or something like that, or they're going to have to drop down to a different bike, which is
They have a push rod bike. Right?
yeah.
Chieftain. The
Chieftain
is
or
air-
something.
The
you know?
Chieftain is air cooled.
and that thing might make it a little bit more,
Apples to apples?
Yeah, a
Right.
little bit more on a level playing field. Vance and Hines did a great job of competing up there at that level and freaking just blasting. It was one of the funniest things to watch those guys up front battling, over and over again.
Matt's taking heat because he came out early as a Indian. I don't want to say hater, but I guess hater. So he came out early as a challenger hater, and now he's taking a bunch of,
It's
taking a bunch of heat from all the
came out with
Indian guys.
Indian roasting video like a year ago, and I'm still catching flack for that.
It's a sport bike with bags.
Yeah, and I get all these DMs every day. Hey Matt, it doesn't look too bad now that they mopped up the floor with your Harley and stuff. And it's like, bro,
you can't even compare. You can't compare the two engines. You can't the powertrain. The
You just
freaking
gotta say good
geometry.
job and whatever,
Yeah.
dude. Like
More power to them. They had a great team. They had a lot of money to freaking throw around.
guess what?
There we
Nobody
go.
still wants to ride
Yeah.
an Indian.
Right.
Sorry.
It's still, to me, it looks like a victory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
It
lot.
is a victory.
I'm sorry.
It is. It's a
At the end of the
rebranded
day.
victory for sure.
Plus,
Don't shoot the
like,
messenger.
Yeah.
I didn't design it.
For me, like the great thing to see was like all the innovation in parts, like all the stuff that these guys were doing and a lot of the other teams were doing as far as like making stuff to fit their bike or molding
Or
fixing
making
other
stuff
parts.
to bring into production, which was our plan with a lot of the stuff that
Exactly.
we're doing, like their subframe we made.
Yeah.
I know Trash, they made the subframe for their bike too. We also designed our own subframe, in which we're planning on bringing to production,
Yeah.
we have our swing arm, obviously, that we have out there that anybody can go buy.
Their motor
We have
mounts that you guys
our
showed
motor
off.
mounts,
Yeah.
We also have our lower legs that are available through Drag Specialties. You can put those right on your bike. And this stuff now that we make is now race proven. It's not just tested, on the streets. It's tested for race environment.
That's awesome.
It's ran 8 hard laps at a freaking 130 miles an hour.
Legit track,
and no issues. Our bike made it off the track with 0 oil leaks. no breakdowns. Our biggest hurdle getting there, to be honest with you, was shift levers at the practices. We went through probably
Grinding
7
them,
or
right?
8 shift pegs because we were grinding them so bad. We were getting down so low. We were grinding. Our pegs were in a different position. We had rear sets off an XR 1200 on our bike. Everybody else had mid controls, which seemed to give them a little bit more ground clearance. We actually had rear sets, and the shift peg was down. We couldn't find we had to get it up and up and up. And we were going through pegs and pegs. And finally, we ended up with a little 1.5 inch nub that kind of came off that. And at the end of the race, it was still ground down.
Yeah.
We cut one of our Moto pegs, our folding pegs, in half, put a bolt through it and ran it in there. And at the end of the race, it was still ground on the side. So, that tells you the level of, how low these guys are getting. And our bike had good ground clearance.
Yeah, we had the Speed Merchant. We had the Speed Merchant mid controls on our bike, which a number of the bikes in the race had.
Yeah.
And those worked well, but our rider was very comfortable and really wanted
Coming
the rear
from his
sets.
XR.
But so we took a Harley item and adapted it to another Harley that it's not really
Didn't
meant
work,
for. Looking back at that, the rear sets are good, but they were too low on that particular frame.
Yeah.
That will be addressed before next year.
Sure.
It's being addressed as we speak.
You identify those issues on the track, and you find
because-
out what's ground up and
Like
figure
I
out how
said,
to
we
move
probably
it.
would have found that sooner had we been able to do more testing prior,
Yeah.
but we just didn't have the time.
It looked like a lot of those guys were dragging primary. Like the primaries were getting ground up pretty good.
Yeah, which we didn't touch on ours. We hit the peg.
Which we were talking about here. We were talking about here because Nick and I were talking about this the other day, and I'm like, dude, I don't know how much you can skinny that primary up. The clutch has to be what it is
you
if
just
you're
gotta
making
go
big
higher.
power. Yeah, you got to boost it up,
we
right?
saw
Gotta go higher.
like Alex Fox for Sly Fox. They actually had a nice carbon.
Yeah, I saw that.
Little skid plate kind of, if you would, on the side, and it was
Destroyed.
ground, but their primary still was not ground, but they had that nice little skin on there, which was kind of cool.
I think the Vance and Hines bike, I believe, if I was to guess, I don't know for a fact because I didn't get to crawl all over it or check it out. I don't know what the etiquette is on that at these tracks.
Yeah.
So, but what I understand, they were running 17s in the rear. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think a lot of other people were running 17s. So if you can get 17s on there, I think that's the answer to save the primaries.
Sure.
High, man.
Yeah,
That's what gave them the ground clearance of like what the Indian kind of was.
Yeah, and their bags looked like they were in almost a stock position, and they were those full length bags. I was like, how are they not scraping and they're cutting corners like that so fast?
I mean, they know what they're doing. I
Yeah.
mean, how many podiums and how many races has Terry Vance been involved with?
They got unlimited abilities and machining and
again,
racing
there you go.
experience and they got it all. Like, what are you gonna do? How can you?
As we were kind of analyzing the bikes, we felt like the Vance and Hines bike almost had more power than the Indian, like going up some of the hills and stuff.
were pulling them.
100%.
It did. That's what they said. Pulling the Harley outpulled
The torque up the hill.
outpulled the Indian.
Because the
Indian's
M8 is
down
a
to
torque
corner.
monster.
Yeah.
M8's
Yeah.
a freaking torque
But as
monster.
soon as they got into the curves, the turns, like the Indian just had way more lean angle, which I think in the
Lightweight
future,
swing, more.
More glass, more plastic parts, I think, versus the metal tanks and things like that. And
They leaned a lot better than ours.
Yeah.
They're like I said, when you stood next to them in the pits and watched them pull up, I mean they looked and sounded and felt like one of the
bike.
super bikes pulling up. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? They just had a real killer
Sound,
aggressive
clean.
stance, and hey.
Yeah, they had their primaries were machined pretty heavy too. They had like a really big cut out of them. It looked like.
Yeah.
it was almost like they built a purpose bike for that track, and it's almost like it
You
wasn't.
think?
I mean, what percentage of the stock bike was even left?
They went
you
to
know?
S and
Kinda
S.
like-
Yeah, they went over to S and S and just
Did
got
they
to.
have- they
They
have
went
the
to like the
frame,
Skunk
or-
Works and just got to work on it.
What was stock on that bike? Like,
Who knows, dude?
Yeah, so
probably nothing. Not a thing.
maybe the frame, maybe hopefully. I mean, if it's, yeah. Well,
I mean, we chopped ours up pretty good too. So I
Yeah.
can't
Right.
really say-
Yeah, I can't really say anything about that because ours is, I don't know what's left stock on.
Yeah, I
the
think,
bike.
as a matter of fact, I
Yeah.
think Robbie took a picture of me at their shop one day when I got this look on my face, like, what the?
yeah,
It
yeah.
was like,
I'll
it was
flash
like
that
a,
picture up.
It
But
was
yeah,
like a month before the race, and I'm like, all right, dude.
You know what's funny is
Cool.
I think people are, once they finally see our bike, they're going to trip out when they see, we took a set of standard Speed Merchant triple trees
Yeah.
and flipped them around
Yeah.
first so that we had that same trail as,
interesting.
you know,
okay.
the bagger trees
That's
are
smart.
set backwards.
That's cool.
We used his stock, so we got that narrow stance,
Uh-huh.
and with stock tree with Speed Merchant trees and flipped them around.
Yeah.
And then we had to cut the locking tab off the frame on both sides, you know,
Mm-hmm.
of our bike, but we got that stuff to work. Speed Merchant did the same thing. That's where
Yeah,
we
that
got
fairing
the
and
idea from.
belly pen setup you guys have is I was like, when I first saw it, I was like, wow, that thing's awesome, dude. Like, it's a lot of work.
It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
I thought it was interesting you guys talked about some of the parts that you guys make that are like for retail sale for regular customers that you used on the bike. So maybe touch on that real quick. So you guys have a swing arm that you used, and what other parts do you guys make
our
that you
lower legs, our 49 millimeter lower legs that we offer for radial brake setup and stock HD caliper setups that we have. You know,
Yeah, you haven't seen their lower legs with this really cool like modular design where you can bolt on different calipers and different fender mounts and stuff. I mean,
they're adjustable
they're
fender mounts, top,
super
up and
adjustable.
bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
It takes all stock Harley components, so a guy who buys those can, if he blew a seal, he can go right down to his local Harley dealer, say, hey, I need seals, 49 millimeter seals for my forks. Okay, no problem. He doesn't have to say, well, I have alloy at lower legs, I have this and that. It doesn't matter.
And the parts guy's like, oh, what's that? You know, they have no clue.
He just gets the seal kit and he walks away, and you can put anybody's drop-ins, performance or otherwise in there, no problem.
Yeah.
And it's
Removable brake perches, right? So we offer HD standard brake perch, so you can run your stock brakes, or like Justin was saying, more performance radial brakes, and they're removable. So let's
and they're ambidextrous, so you can move it left or right. It doesn't matter. One part.
That's cool.
You know, so you can remove them, right? So you can either run dual brakes, or if you got more of a, or you want to run a single brake, or you want to run no brakes at all in the front. You want to run a clean freaking rim.
Yeah.
You can do that with our setup.
Wow, that's wild.
And then depending on what rim and tire combo you're running, you can adjust your fender up. You can put it real tight, whatever you want to do. Or you can, like I said, if you want to run clean, no fender, your fender mounts are removable. They're gone. And then seven out of the 14 bikes original.
Yeah. I think
7 out of
7 of them, right? Yeah.
7 of the bikes ran our swing arm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Track proven, didn't flex. I saw some other ones out there flexing pretty bad.
Yeah,
doing
that's
the
a
dance
beefy
around
piece.
the corner.
That's
Ours,
a beefy piece.
none of ours flexed. None of ours did the dance around the corners.
Nice.
So like Justin was saying, they're no longer race inspired. They're race tested. You could whether it was our swing arm, our lower legs, our frame stabilizer was on a number of the bikes too. No matter those same parts we had on the bike, and the same parts that were on a number of the other bikes. Our lower legs were on 3 or 4 of the bikes.
And then so those aren't only race parts. Those are average Joe parts.
Same exact part, nothing modified.
Nothing.
Right out of the Drag Specialties catalog at your local Laidlaw's dealership.
Which originally that's what that kind of race was based on, as it was talked about. They wanted to build bikes that were parts that were available for regular customers just to go to the drag book and look in and say, okay, I want that part, that part, that part, that part. So that's what we tried to keep in mind too when we built this bike, is make sure we had our parts that are regular everyday parts in the catalogs, and you can go right to our website, or you can go to Drag Specialties and you can buy these parts, that we maintain that and modify nothing about them, so that they were still our normal part that we make, and you just buy that same part and put it on your bike.
For sure.
And have confidence knowing that you can run those high speeds if that's what you want
If
to
that's
do.
what you want to do, yeah.
Let's do it.
If you're going that fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as we all know in this room, the performance bagger scene has kind of erupted. I mean, we've got 2 really involved bikes right now.
Big projects, 2 of them at least.
And so I think that's kind of where consumers are looking at. I think, and let me know what you guys' opinion as well. I mean, we kind of talked about this as like the next big trend in the Harley-Davidson world. I mean, we saw the big wheel baggers, we saw the big stereos. Yeah.
See, back in the day, right? Our stuff's always been kind of race inspired. I mean, Todd Silicato, Jesse Rook, Roland Sands, they were building race inspired stuff back then. When everybody started going the big tires, I couldn't take the bait, right? I was working with all those guys back in the day, and I just couldn't take the bait. And, we were putting Marzocchi front ends on bikes in 2008.
Yeah.
That straight line shit's cool, I guess.
No, it is cool. I mean, hey, if you're into that, that's cool. Whatever.
Steamroller style.
There was some pretty
I
incredible.
can't turn, but I can go straight.
Yeah.
But let's face it, like there was a lot, consumers were pouring a ton of money into that space. I mean, the big stereos, the big 26-inch wheel, and I look back too, and I'm like,
Dude,
There was
now
clearly a
I
market.
think they had guys doing
Yeah, there was a
32-inch
market.
wheels or something
Yeah.
on the front of those things.
now
some
they're
of those
going.
things.
Yeah.
Now they're going
Yeah.
wide. We had a customer approach me like less than a month ago, and buying a 2020. Like,
that's like, that's
hey,
the new
dude,
trend.
what do you think about this? I go, have you ridden that bike, dude? That front wheel,
You guys
that's
seen
got
those
like a 200
those fat front wheels on baggers?
wheel on it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm like, have you ridden it? No, I haven't ridden it. I was like, you might want to ride it before you go and spend that money. And he's like, so we won't do that here. Like, I won't do it. So he's like, he's shipping his bike to like North Carolina or something to have some guy do this front end that's gonna do I don't know what.
It
But
I
looks
don't
cool
know enough
sitting there.
about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's wild.
You know, so when, you know, there clearly was a market for it, and there was some really cool, a lot of like serious craftsmanship that went into those bikes. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't our thing. So to see it come around to this is rather refreshing for us.
Right in your wheelhouse, man. All the
Yeah.
stuff you guys make is like race inspired and race.
Yeah, I mean, our 09 Street Glide that we had from 09, there was a inverted Marzocchi front end on it,
Yeah.
right out of the gate.
Yeah.
You know, radial brakes, everything, and
Yep.
that was back in 2009. So it was always in race inspired.
Yeah.
You know,
Or
stuff
in
that
stainless
we did.
exhaust, you know,
Yeah.
like
You know, so we've always been there.
Yeah.
You know, so then you see some of these. You hear some people say, "Oh, well, we were the first to put an inverted front end on the bikes," and
You're like, no, bro.
Been done before.
I mean, yeah, not that
Yeah.
we were, but you
We-
know,
we-
guys
yeah.
we know.
we've always
we're
worked
doing them.
with Brandon from Speed Merchant. All
Always an
his
innovator there.
stuff is super race innovative,
Yeah.
and you know, he's been doing the hooligan thing and the flat track thing. So, you know, that's just kind of our world. So it was a beautiful thing for this to finally
Came
happen.
together, yeah.
That's why when Rob was talking to me in that bar,
Yeah.
I was like, duh.
Duh,
I'm in
yeah.
100%. Like, where do I sign up?
all
you know?
in.
Yeah.
All in. Let's do it.
You know,
would you
and
guys-
he got turned down by, I know for a fact,
Yeah.
he got turned down by some very big companies
I'm sure.
that
Mm.
that ended
ended
up
up in
participating and jumping
Interesting.
on.
Yeah, well, yeah. When you get the momentum, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait a minute, we need to take a second look
Yeah.
at this. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny hearing that they were on board from the very beginning, but didn't really.
I mean, I'm glad they were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
it
glad they
wouldn't
were,
have been,
but-
it would have been what it was without them, but still.
Yeah.
So
A lot of
no-
people don't
no-
have that vision though. They don't have that like they don't see what it can be. They just are like kind of like, oh, we're good where we're at. Like we don't need to develop a new market or we don't need to get into this. It's going to cost us money or whatever. But dude, that's not the way we do things, man. We get after it.
We, our,
Make something.
Alloy Art's always been very flexible,
Yeah.
right? Like we don't. I mean, it's not a big organization yet.
Yeah.
We've got a pretty good number of machines, and we can produce with the best of them, production wise. But it's, you know, it's a small house. It's a mom and pop. It's me. It's Justin and I, and you know, we have some quality people that work with us and help us out a ton. But being small sometimes is kind of cool for the flexibility. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we should come up with this new part. We don't have to wait 6 months. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Let's do it.
You know,
Yeah.
it's on.
And still priding ourselves on, you know, made in USA product, you
Yeah.
know, and everything we put on that bike was made
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
you know,
It's awesome.
100%, and that's how we do it.
Yeah.
So,
I think the biggest thing that the naysayers right now is, wow, that's kind of an oxymoron. You know, you got a bagger, but you're making a performance bagger. I think when this whole trend, if you want to call it that, first started off, that was kind of the biggest criticism is while you're starting with this boat and you're now spending all this money to make it a performance bagger. What would you say to those guys?
I mean, you kind of get the joy riding, you know, I don't know how different people grew up and whatnot, but, you know, I was a big fan of the California Kid and all the dirt bike racing, or when you'd actually get to see a super bike race on TV, it was like so fascinating to watch those guys drag knees and go around those, like, how do they even do that?
Yeah.
You know?
wouldn't you like to take a 20-mile-an-hour turn at faster than 20 miles an hour or faster than 15 miles an hour because you got floorboards that are scraping around the corner?
Yeah.
You know, when you could actually hit that thing.
Dude, I would honestly say it's a natural progression of just humans. Like, dude, if you put 4 guys, 1 each pushing and 1 each riding in shopping carts, they're gonna race. Like,
I mean,
it doesn't
that's
matter.
true.
Like,
But
yeah.
how comfortable are baggers?
racing's racing, man.
How comfortable are baggers to ride, period?
Yeah.
They are a very comfortable
Super.
bike. You know,
Yeah.
they're like a couch on wheels, right?
Yep.
But when you can make that also a performance-inspired vehicle and actually go out and frickin' slam some gears and haul some ass and then still have your stuff in your frickin' your saddlebags,
Yeah.
right? And then get there and pull off on this frickin' badass machine that you were just so comfortable on, but actually out-cornered half these frickin' cars.
Yeah.
Why the hell not?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
you just hit it, Justin.
Don't
Yeah.
keep your mind closed,
Yeah.
man, because that's where it's
Who
going.
doesn't
right there.
like freaking out somebody in a sleeper? You know what I mean? You pull up in some like Maverick with a freaking LS in it, you know, and they don't even know what's going on, and you just blow their doors.
Yeah.
You know, who doesn't like doing stuff like that?
Yeah.
You know, and then you watch these guys hopping these freaking wheelies on these freaking baggers, just wop, 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 down the freaking like that's not bike's not supposed to do that,
Yeah.
but it's doing it.
It's doing it.
and it's doing it very well and at a high rate of speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think that's what makes Harley wheelies so cool is you got this big heavy bike that's not supposed to go up on one wheel, especially the baggers that are doing it like you said. So, yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny to see, was it War Pig for the Arlen S bike?
Wheelie Pig.
Wheelie Pig, excuse me. Sorry about it. I didn't mean to butcher your name.
War Pig's a pretty cool name.
Is that
too.
the Unknown Industries guy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really-
he raced.
Okay, yeah.
Arlen S put together a bike in just a couple weeks, but I mean, it had floorboards. You see that guy out there on the track, going to do a track with the radio on.
Yeah,
Blaring, just coming into turns. He'd have a cigarette right before he got on his helmet, jump on the bike, and he threw some tunes on. You'd hear him, and you'd hear the music going at the same time he's coming flying by.
I got a great pic of him with his leathers his leathers unzipped like halfway down his belly, and then he's got like a cigarette in one hand. He's down in a Red Bull, then he zips up and hops on the bike, turns the radio on, and rips out for qualifying. It was like
That's racing, bro. That's racing right there.
Legend.
I mean, that's
Legend for
that's
sure.
cool, man. I mean, that's what this was. I mean, it was a great all around, first time ever moto experience. You know, of a lifetime. You know, it's kind of sad with this year of 2020 how we couldn't have spectators be there because people really missed out. But the availability of online and coverage and cameras and stuff really made it. A lot of people feel like I think they were there still. But that's just some of the minor stories like they missed out on and you couldn't see it and you can barely describe them because they were just so cool being there. The experience was like, you know, unbelievable.
It's amazing, dude.
Dude,
That's
I feel
awesome.
bad because we were planning on going up there and then it got shut down.
We were talking about it really
bummed.
early on, and we were all going to make a ride.
They only allowed
5 people each.
five
right?
people in your crew.
Dang.
Jeez.
And it was strict, right?
Yeah.
They had some serious protocols up there. You know, I mean, that's kind of up there in Northern California.
They're getting tested every day.
Stronghold.
You know?
That's a
Getting
Northern
coveted.
California stronghold of rules, right? Up there, that area. And they weren't playing.
Had a different color wristband every day.
Yeah,
when
they
you
checked
tested
you every
clear.
day.
Oh, wow.
So they give you a different color.
Wow.
You know, so you couldn't even get back in. And once you left the pits overnight, people that stayed in the pits got rechecked in the pits. Their COVID testing. We had to go through a whole different area to get checked in and then come back down to the pits and come back in. So it was done.
You know what? Back to it's something just dawned on me, when you were asking about the Harleys and comparing the Harleys, why do that to a Harley? You know, why take a cruiser and performance it out? Look, I love all motorcycles. I look at a motorcycle and heart's flat on my chest. I think motorcycles are bitching. I love KTM's. I love Ducatis. BMWs are badass. At the end of the day, I still want to ride a Harley, and I don't know how to say it other than that. Like, I love having those bikes. I've had a couple. I love them.
Yeah.
I want more of them. But at the end of the day, my heart is on the Harley.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to be riding. So if I can make my Harley, which gives me a freaking job, if I can make my Harley ride more like this or that, well, then I've got a job because I can make parts and sell those parts to other people.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys know what side of the fence I'm on as far as performance bagger and everything, but I just like to get other people's takes on the playing devil's advocate and the skepticism because there's skeptics for everything out there, So
Of course. There's always going to be somebody that has, like I said, go back to during some of the live coverage or whatever, and you'd see comments, how do you test a bagger or keep track of their score, or their time with a calendar, like things like that. Like,
Yeah, I got something to add to that story.
You know what I mean? Like,
So when we pulled up, like names will be not be said, but there were some people with certain organizations who were like, hey, we want to have professional pits. This isn't no swap meet and blah, blah, blah. And I want, we got kind of treated bad at first. And then to see the evolution, but, some of these crusties have been on the circuit forever, that worked the events and stuff. And to watch them get won over was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're our best buddies and buying us beers and shit.
Yeah.
That's
it was
interesting. That's
pretty
very
cool.
interesting.
And when we were at, Dunlop was there, right? And they were hooking us up. If we had tires, they'd mount them for free, or they even gave us a free set of tires. So we were going back up there. And you listen to some of the comments as the guys were coming out, and you see some of the pit crews for the other teams behind me when I'm there, and they're like, I hope that thing doesn't leak oil all over the track and this and that. But at the end of the day, when they see those times, and they're like, really, a lot of guys came and said, man, I had no idea Harley could go that fast and handle that well.
Yeah.
They want seats now. Well, there's already rumor.
They had a vintage class that were just in love with the Harleys because they were kind of like the the blackball guys at first for a long time, and they've kind of earned their respect. And then they see us out there, and they were coming up to us all the time like, oh
the
my
vintage
God,
guys
man,
were super cool.
They were super rad, and they're like, man, I can't even believe these are Harleys going these speeds. You guys are flying faster than us. You guys are, going
They've
higher
been
mile an
doing it
hour
for
and doing
years.
stuff. Yeah, than we are. We had no idea, and that's
Dude, that's
the kind of
interesting.
eyeballs that open up. Okay, so now you're going to have these guys that say, well, maybe I'll get a bagger.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do this, this and that, and try and get in there and jump into that. And that's,
They were
that's how
expecting it to
goes.
be. They were expecting it to look clunky and like a fish
Back
out of
again.
water.
Yeah,
Back
it
again,
feels
some
like a
couches. They're
Oh yeah,
fucking couches.
that whole thing better not oil all over the track because they saw us working, man. We were hustling on that bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's hands are destroyed, not that we had pretty hands to begin with, right? We were hustling on that bike the first day, the first night, and all day. Like you said, we missed a couple practices. And when they made that oil comment, what was crazy was by the end of the weekend, by Sunday morning, not one Harley leaked oil on the track or crashed. I mean, other than the pit lane loop by Frankie.
Still no oil was spilled in that.
Yeah, no oil was spilled in that, and technically that wasn't on the race surface track, right? Dude, not one Harley / Indian, whatever, bagger bike leaked all over the track or crashed.
Yeah.
Who oiled the track was the super bikes. The freaking super bikes.
When they were
man.
yard
There was
selling in the
oil- Yeah,
corners.
there was some pretty crazy
Get offs.
get offs, and they oiled the track, not us.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw the aftermath of they were showing it on when they were showing the that practice session of that Indian crash. I was like, dude, that bike is hammered. Like they're gonna thrash all night and hopefully get it back together if he can ride because he looked like he was hurt really bad.
Yeah.
But they made the call. I was like, whoa, man, that's legit. Like
The bike and the rider handled
thing
the
was
crash like a
twisted.
champ.
Yeah,
up.
it was very impressive, and they were pitted right next to us.
Oh, yeah.
So we got to watch them just
Thrash.
hustle, and work on that thing. And Roland came over, and we were talking with Roland, and
That was a
good
tribute,
times.
a tribute to Indian too. That thing
Indian man just
took that thing on the head and got up and finished third.
It's crazy.
yeah,
It's cool.
That's impressive.
It's awesome.
So,
It's interesting though, the skepticism and how you guys are kind of treated. I feel like, with all the eyeballs and all the press that this thing is getting, where there's eyeballs, there's money, and where there's money, there's respect.
Oh, there's some people eating crow right now.
Oh, for sure. I bet.
That the comments were unbelievable.
yeah, and that's just a few that I can kind of.
We got
remember.
hate. We got hate messages, like threatening hate messages. You guys, Harley-Davidson killed sport bikes
Ruining
20
the
years
sport.
ago. You ruined the sport. F you guys. F this. F that. And I'm like,
Whoa, bro.
oh, bro, I didn't.
Easy, bro.
Yeah.
Calm down.
We all live in this world right now. Businesses, whether you're in business, own the business, whatever it is, you got to deal with this
The keyboard warrior.
online world,
Yep.
this online world, which is so prosperous for all of us.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Probably the guy sitting at home picking lint out of his belly button while he's typing with his freaking chips on top of his lap. Yeah, you guys suck. F Harley. You got slow.
Doesn't even ride probably.
Yeah, doesn't even ride. Can barely get out of the freaking lazy boy.
Get out of here with that. Yeah,
Sure.
for sure.
Well, cool. Well, so, we're really excited about the future. We're excited, to build bikes in-house, like the performance baggers, and, excited to work with you guys and your parts and stuff like that in the future. Where do you guys see this going? Like, it sounds like you want to maybe participate as best as you can in the future and in future races if you get the opportunity and all that stuff.
we're hooked, dude. We're in. The same sentiment we gave Rob Bidos back in the day. We're in. I'm hooked. I own the company. It's on.
Yeah, we're really hoping to see those 3 races hopefully come to form and be a part of that and just keep going, know.
We're going to do whatever it takes to be a part of it.
Whether it's supporting other guys with our parts, and just sponsoring these guys and being a part of that way, whatever it means. And we'll still do that even if we're racing.
Yeah.
We're still going to give guys our parts and support them and see them out there on the track because why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
That's how the sport evolves, and to be a part of that evolution, bringing racing to this height on something that shouldn't even be there, I guess. Technically, I guess if you or in other people's eyes shouldn't be there, but is actually there.
It's there.
Is going to be
It could be, I'm not
Beautiful
getting ahead of ourselves or myself or whatever, but like somebody commented, this could be like a NASCAR kind of deal. these like NASCARs aren't supposed to race. Like everybody in Europe laughed at NASCAR. Like, what is this American crap with their sedans out
They
here?
race trucks too.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Going left.
If you think about it, that's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
You're taking this sedan or a truck and you're throwing it, you're engineering it to do these incredible speeds and power and handle the speeds and power and the weight. I mean, the bagger is kind of that deal. Like you got to have bags. It's got to be heavy and
It's a challenge.
It's an engineering challenge. So it was, you know, I don't think it's going anywhere. Like Matt said, follow the money.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, Moto America would be rather stupid to drop the ball on this.
Yeah.
Anybody involved would be rather stupid to drop the ball on this, whether it's the title sponsor, Moto America, anybody involved. I mean, you got to give the people what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and I'm not saying I definitely don't want it blown out. Like I don't want there to be 7 races and blah blah blah. I don't want to beat it up, right?
Right.
In my opinion, that's what ruined baseball. Season's too damn long.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like everybody ruins everything because they overdo it, right?
Yeah, try to
Typical
make it
American
too
thing.
much.
You
It's greed.
overdo
Greed
it,
comes
right?
into play.
For sure.
And,
It's greed.
Greed.
yeah.
But if we keep it tight, right? If we keep it 3 or 4 at the most or whatever, we keep it tight and don't blow it out, but keep people hungry.
Yep.
Yeah.
This could be huge, man.
Yeah.
This
No,
could
I
be
agree.
huge.
And I think
Sure.
I think sponsorships are going to be key too for a lot of, you know, especially like small companies like us, you know, that need the help, the support, you know, a little bit. We'd love to see more sponsorships come to the table and guys wanting to get involved and be a part of something that's could be fantastic, you know, and just
Well,
really
one
cool.
thing for us, I think we've definitely showed whatever potential sponsorships out there, super corpo to all the way down to grassroots, whatever it is, we fully send it. We don't pull any punches, and we went for it, man.
Yeah, you guys
and
got
that
the
was all on
chops,
our
man.
that was all on our blood, sweat, and tears because
Yeah.
we don't have any budget.
No,
So-
and then like for a small business, basically like the business, like not with the factory support, to come in 6th, right? You guys came in 6th place.
Yeah.
That's ultra legit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the
That's
effort you guys
respectable.
put in
With
and
the slowest
dude,
bike out there.
dude.
We had
very
we had the slowest mile per hour,
Really? I don't know how. Okay.
which means we crushed it in the corners.
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
made it up in some other areas.
other
For sure. That's ultra legit because a lot of like bikes in the front were big budget or no budget.
Yeah.
Like and you know he's footing the bill out of his own pocket. Like he's
Yeah.
And I
It's all him and him and
yes,
Justin.
We got a little bit of help too. I mean,
Yeah.
some guys DNF, they didn't make it, but
yeah.
that's part of racing,
Yeah.
right? But
It happens.
we stood the test.
Yeah.
We still continued to go. Our
Did
bike
it.
didn't break down. It made it all the way around. So whether we were underpowered or not,
Our
Yeah.
products and our
We finished.
craftsmanship,
still,
Got you there
yeah,
boom.
for sure.
100%.
So going forward, but after the racing thing, what do you? I know you guys are working on a lot of stuff. I don't know what you're comfortable talking about, but what are you most excited about that you're coming out with or you're working on right now?
Well, I don't know if you've been following our stories on Instagram or not. but-
If you haven't, Alloy Art USA.
I have.
We'll be
follow
putting all the
Instagram.
links. Yeah, we'll put all the links up here and also in the description of the video. So yeah, check out Alloy Art for sure. If you guys haven't already, check out their website, check out their stuff. Where do people buy your stuff, by the way, besides dealers like us?
You can go to alloyart.com
or any drag specialty
any drag
dealer.
specialty dealer,
Yeah.
Okay.
and go from there. But back on our new stuff that we got coming out, do you want to talk about that right now? Or
Yeah, so like I kind of come from the Japanese style of designing, right? Like I like seeing things and seeing how bitchin' people made them and putting my own little slice on it, right? So always improving. Take, other people have put a lot of time and engineering into things. How can I make it even better, right?
Yeah.
So this thing we came out with that's about to hit, we've been leaking it out a little bit here and there. It's been done before, technically. I mean, people have
to this level, but
yeah,
yes.
No.
people have done transparent, see-through cam covers, rocker covers, stuff like derby covers with the plexiglass.
Right.
in a small window.
Roland Sands pioneered it. Trask has some really clean stuff. Barnett has a beautiful derby cover, all this transparent windowed stuff. So everybody loves the gears, right? Everybody wants to see the guts. Everyone, how does this work, right? It's beautiful, right?
People do this fancy anodizing too on these parts that you can they just hide behind these covers you never see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, how can we expect, like, honestly, someone sent me photos from the dealer show, the Harley dealer show last year. Okay.
Yeah.
And they had the M8, or maybe it was 2 years ago. I think it might have been you.
Maybe. Yeah.
And it was the pictures of the M8 cutaway.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, the motor, I was like, damn, that is so cool. I love
Yeah.
I remember going to SEMA show back in the day when Ford freaking cut a Ford GT in half, right down the middle. I've always been so fascinated by that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, the windows are cool, but you really can't see much, right? It's all I can see is the gear. Can't
Half the
see
time
the
it's
chain.
full of oil. You don't get to see.
Yeah, you don't really see much, and it's not very functional because what you get to see is limited. So it's like,
It's not sexy. Let's say.
what
Yeah.
what if I molded 3D pretty much the entire cover, with the exception of the billet frame that goes around the perimeter to lock it down and seal it up.
Right.
And that's where it all started. So now we're calling it the cutaway. It's going to be cutaway components.
I love it.
So-
There isn't a gearhead in the world that's not attracted immediately to a cutaway. Like every time we go to the dealer show and they have those cutaway motors, I'm like, wow, man. I mean, I know how things work, but dude, it's amazing. And then you start thinking about the craftsmanship that goes into doing those things. It's crazy. And then like Robbie was saying, like theirs is 3-dimensional. Everything else that's clear out there is like 1-dimension flat plexiglass, just a piece of plexiglass cut into a shape and bolted into another part.
Which
if you
are
haven't
beautiful
seen it-
pieces.
Yeah,
like
they're beautiful.
The CNC
Yeah.
work is
Yeah.
really cool too, right? But see, I wanted it to be more functional, right? So I wanted to be able to see the chain. I wanted to be able to see the tension shoe, if it's failing or not.
Yeah, that's
we're going to expand on
that's
this.
a
This
cool-
is-
We put our minds in the mindset of a mechanic.
Yeah.
Okay. When I can look at a piece and say, okay, well, maybe I'm not getting oil, or maybe this is going on, or maybe I got a noise here. Now I can see the actual part. I can see if that cam shoe is worn and there's pieces of it gone, or it's not getting oil, or something's not happening right.
You can see if it's
We can
oiling
see
up or not.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's more than just cosmetics. It's also a serviceable.
Functional.
Absolutely.
function-wise.
Yeah, to be able to actually show a customer right there, like, well, you see this little thing that's not moving? That's your problem right there,
busted.
or whatever it is.
You know,
You
and this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're doing all our testing right now. This is going to continue to other components involved with the powertrain.
That's awesome, dude.
So you're not going to have to dump your oil to check something out.
Yeah.
You're going to see if your stuff's oiling up. You're going to see a whole bunch of things come here real soon.
That's cool, man. That's awesome.
I think Harley guys appreciate that too, just by nature of a Harley guy. They appreciate the mechanicalness of a Harley and to show off the mechanicalness of a Harley.
Especially when you spend that kind of money on the mechanical parts, right? You build these crazy motors, beautiful motors, and you got this power, and you spend this money on this stuff that you, like I said, once again, beautifully anodized, machined, CNC'd, whatever it is, and it's like so cool. And then you put it in. I have that in there. I want you to know I have that in there. I know you can't see it, but it's in there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But to be able to see that at the same time and be like, man, that's it right there. Like that's where it's at.
Yeah.
We made the mold
cool.
in-house for it. The engineering part was also that's where I geek out, right, is the engineering part. So I always like to blend plastic injection with CNC machining, right? We're always going to get some haters out there, be like, I don't want plastic stuff on my bike. Hey, dude, I totally get it.
That's cool.
Yeah, cool.
Do your thing.
There's plenty of other stuff out there, and just leave the stock one on, whatever, But I think there's definitely a market for this. And, to get the clear plastic to be crystal clear and not to melt was no short feat because it didn't exist.
Right.
The plastic didn't exist.
Yeah.
But there's certain really smart people out there that, plastics can be an alloy. There are alloy plastics, right? You can engineer stuff to do what you want if you find the right person.
Sure.
So, we could have made it out of polycarbonate, which is the same thing that our plastic lenses are made out of. Matter of fact, we did. But that stuff melts at like 180 degrees.
Which the motor's way hotter than that.
So we had to, we put a lot of work into this. So we have some proprietary, polymer material, and it's not cheap. But in the big picture of things, it'll be worth every penny.
Yeah, plus it's going to open up so many more markets probably. I mean, as far as like products and stuff go.
And not to mention, I guess, like we were looking at some stuff today, and we grabbed a CNC cover, and then with like our cover, the weight shavings.
Which is a performance feature.
You talk about shaving weight. I mean, is huge. Compared to our thin, it's a little CNC'd, and then the glass and then this normal covers that you have, the weight difference is huge. And that's where you start when you get into performance bikes, every bit counts, right? So that's where the shaving starts going. Now, we obviously, we can't run those kind of covers out the tracks and stuff because of, they worry like if a bike goes down, if something happens.
Yeah, durability of.
But your normal,
right now,
as of right now,
we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, but your normal guy who's riding around, and they're doing the performance stuff and they got this cool stuff. This is it right here, man. It doesn't get any cooler than this.
No,
it's cool.
It doesn't. No.
Very cool. Yeah, Keith was showing me some pictures of your guys'. I don't know if they're like prototypes or what, but it's really cool looking stuff.
Yeah, they're beyond prototype now. They're testing. They're on bikes.
Robbie's street testing. Robbie's street testing that piece of equipment right now.
Yeah.
We almost rode it here today, and then we were running out of time, and it was already on the lift being checked from last night's ride. Yeah. And this morning's ride, but that's just the tip of the iceberg and on the cutaway components. But we also came up with like all these guys want to run mids now, right? Yeah. Well, you still have this stock ugly Harley floorboard motor mount on the front. Yeah. Well, we got that replaced now. It's already done. Production's done. Prices will be released in the next week. Yeah. Same with the back, the rear left pivot block for the swing arm.
The swing arm.
Yeah.
That's done. Bolt up stock Harley pegs, but cut more than two-thirds of the weight is reduced.
That's ridiculous.
And you can anodize it and personalize it and make it yours. So it's just one of those cool little pieces you can add a little touch to, and also just a real quick, our bike from the King of the Baggers is going to be in the Harley Museum.
Oh yeah.
Out there in Milwaukee. So if anybody's out that way, I think it's reopening in November. They're doing a whole reopen thing. The bike will be there. You'll be able to see the part that we're talking about in person at the museum and see it actually on the bike. If anybody is going to be out that way or is going that way to go to the museum, just to let you guys know.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Are all the bikes going to be out there or
no,
just the Harley bikes?
Just the Born Free bikes.
Just the Born Free bikes, yeah.
So it'll be Suicide Machine will have a bike in it. Us, obviously. Oliver from Cut Rate.
Did San Diego Customs too?
They're supposed to. I don't know if it made it or not. I don't.
It was like Horsepower Inc. Did they make a bike this year?
I don't think they made a bike this year.
What about Kraus? Is Kraus going to be there?
No, Kraus
I don't think Kraus got a bike this year.
Yeah, he didn't get a bike this year, I don't think.
God, who else was it? I can't remember right now.
To be honest with you,
I think it's only 5 or 4.
Yeah, it's only a few.
How long is your bike going to be there, just so the listeners know?
3 months.
I think till January, right?
Okay.
Late January, maybe February.
So when it's snowing out there in Milwaukee, head down to the Harley-Davidson Museum.
Yeah,
take a look.
We're going to fly out there in December and check it out midweek.
Yeah.
Cool.
Then when it comes back, they've committed to putting it here for a little while. So we'll have it on display for a little while at least.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'd be good for you guys. People come down, check it out, and we'll create some hashtags or something so people can hashtag it when they're here, and we can follow who's been here and is checking it out.
Yeah. Very cool.
Stuff.
Well, thanks a lot for your time, guys. Yeah, Robbie, Justin, appreciate you guys coming down.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. We're so super stoked on this event, dude. We're
Big
pumped
time.
about it.
So it makes us feel like little kids again, right? Like
no, right?
Hey,
you got goofy.
I know we're trying to wrap it up, but we forgot to talk about the mullet.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please do. Talk about it.
So we were standing back looking at the bike, and honestly, every bike I've ever been involved with building, because I play my role, but I get out of the way of the other people who know what they're doing, right? Yeah. And I always have all these grandiose ideas, and then you never know what the sum of the parts will be all together, right? So this thing's come together. At certain points, I'm like, I love it, it's bitching. And then I got to some other points, like, I fucking hate it, I hate it. I hate it. And so it went back and forth. It was teeter-totter. Plus we were late, and we had to compromise some of our ideas. And I'm like, look, dude, it's all performance, and we still have these damn bags. And Justin's all, it's a freaking mullet. And I'm like, 100%, dude, this bike is the
freaking mullet.
The freaking mullet,
So that was the name of the bike, the mullet.
Business in the front and party in the back.
Yep.
That's it.
Performance in the front.
And the hat, huh?
Yeah, the hat.
I love it,
really,
dude.
to be honest with you, as we go back to that, some of our inspirations were from the early, 80s and 90s, early like GT BMX bikes and things like that we were looking at. And, the neon colors, the neon paint and all this stuff. And that's inspired the logo,
white rims,
the white rims and the white frame and things like that. And that's what we were kind of going after. And it was just, that was some of our inspiration too. Was old school BMX.
That inspiration was there before the name Mullet
Before the
came
name
along.
Mullet
So
even
when
came
that
along.
came along, it kind of just fit.
Kind
We're
of
like,
came
we're running
together.
it.
Yeah.
You
That's awesome,
We were thinking,
man.
Miami Vice, and I mean, we had all these white references like Miami Vice references. We were thinking about doing for the bike, you know.
boy.
Yeah, you can imagine where that's going, but yeah, we decided that probably wasn't the proper names for these things, so we left it alone. But the mullet just seemed to fit.
It fits.
Perfect.
Love it.
man.
Good one.
Just, yeah.
Love it.
You need to stick to that theme for your future bikes as well, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think we talked about but I think our white frame is going to be the staple for a lot of our stuff. It's just
Sets it off.
We like the way it sets off the motor.
Sets
yeah.
it off, yeah.
You know, it sets the tone.
yeah.
does.
So that the white frame will always be a staple of our.
I think every one of our bikes will be white primary color. Will we throw some, other colors on there eventually? Yeah, but the primary we want because we're at the races and guess what?
Yeah, everything's black.
Everything was
and
dark.
orange.
And orange.
Yeah. And
Which is cool.
And when our bike went by, everybody freaking knew it was our bike.
We knew ours was coming.
Yeah.
We knew when it was coming.
There goes
Yeah.
the mullet.
See that, the white. Okay, there it
The
is.
flag mullet.
There goes the
coming by.
atomic mullet.
Yeah.
And 99 is the year we incorporated.
That's awesome.
The first
cool.
year
Love
we
it.
came out. So
Very cool.
on our own.
There's layers to this game, man. There's layers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
well,
is.
I'm glad you didn't let me close, man. The name of your bike is like one of the most important things.
Oh yeah.
It's a great story.
I want to make it hopefully things work out. We run a new bike this upcoming season, but and that thing will just become like a mythical unicorn that's just legendary.
One and done, I think.
Yeah.
If we
Yeah.
can, it'd
Yeah.
be kind of cool. Just
Under
to
glass.
just kind of let
Put it up on the
sit.
shelf.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big debut, a
Piece
big,
of history.
Big history.
Put it up
right
on the
there.
shelf and talk to it when you need inspiration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Talk to me, mullet.
Yeah.
What do you got?
That's
Yeah,
when-
or let's say if there is, the new race bike takes a crap and we're like, got to be saved by the mullet, bring her out.
Dust off the mullet.
Dust her off. She's still
Put
fine.
some hairspray in that thing. Let's go.
Aquanet, that's it. Let's go.
Exactly.
Give me the Aquanet.
That's awesome, man. That's great.
Very
That's good
cool.
stuff.
Love it. All right, well, thanks again, guys. I'm glad we closed out on that high note. That was good. I'm
Yeah.
glad we didn't end too prematurely
Yeah.
on that. So, yeah, I look forward to hanging out and doing as much
Oh,
stuff
for
as
sure,
we
dude.
can as you guys
Yeah,
with you guys. In the
absolutely.
Really
future.
appreciate
Yeah.
the support that you and Keith have given
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
You
man.
guys have been
Mostly all
huge.
Keith, but
Yeah.
yeah, when we're
No, we have a little history. Justin and I used to work together and
Yeah.
stuff, and so we always been friends.
Spent a
and-
lot of years here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I help out whenever I can, and it's easy for me. It's right on the corner, and just we got parts and we got
This was
access
one
to
of-
stuff.
This was one of Alloy Art's first accounts, man.
Yeah.
Before we were in any distributor books or anything like that, This was
Justin
local.
actually built my first bike. My first bike was a 09 Road King.
Yeah, that's
and
right. The
Justin
black
pretty
one.
much designed. I basically told him what I wanted, and I was like fresh out of college, and he put the thing together. And
Yeah,
still to
remember.
that day, it's probably my favorite bike I've ever
Oh,
owned.
sweet.
So
Yeah.
dude,
thing.
awesome. Much respect. All right, guys, we'll close off on that. And if you haven't already, guys, make sure you check out Alloy Art on their website and social media. I'll be linking all their social media. You guys do Instagram, I know for sure.
Yeah,
What other,
yeah.
do you have any other social media outlets you do?
No,
we have a Facebook
We have
page.
our
but-
Facebook page, and please, whatever. If you guys submit photos or find any photo, whatever, just throw the hashtag mullet in there, so maybe we can get some of that Alloy Art mullet, and
Yep.
and we can hopefully track you.
Awesome.
And go from there.
Cool.
Right on.
So,
All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming, guys.
Awesome.
And take care, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next podcast. See you on the next video.
awesome.
Later.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thank you. All right.
And here we go. Who's going to grab that hole shot and coming up the...
Ben Bostrom with a good jump on that outside.
looks like Frankie Garcia on the Roland Sands Indian Challenger grabs the first hole shot ever. And